Hey, so today I want to share with you 3 things that I learned presenting online that have changed the way that I present in person. The last one specifically, well, I think it's the golden rule of presentations generally. So certainly stick around. 2020 turned out to be a fantastic year for me as a professional speaker. In 2019, I spoke in 26 countries in person, but in 2020, I spoke in so many more. The world was literally opened up to me, but it came with some challenges, and those challenges produced lessons. And today I want to share with you the 3 things that I fundamentally learned that are making me a better speaker. I just came back from a tour of the Middle East and the US, and it was amazing to me how evolved my speaking has become.
It's evolution.
The 3 things I want to share with you today are something that you can apply straight away into your presentations, and I promise you they will level you up. So let's get to it. Lesson number 1 is scenes versus slides. So in the past, as a speaker, when I got onto a stage, it was me and the slide. Me and the slide. Me and the slide. And the slide was here, and I was able to stand there presenting, but basically there was always a visual aid next to me. So this actually meant in some ways that I was competing with my slide. Now, I would like to have only just enough amount of content on my slide so that once you've seen it, you will stop and you will focus on me as the speaker. However, when presenting online, it was great because using tools like Prezi, I was able to be presenting and either have one of 3 states, either me, my slide, or me and my slide. So when I would think of a scene, I would think, do I want them just to see my image? Do I want them just to see myself? Or do I want them to see both myself and the image? Now, it's very, very hard for me right now to let them just see the slide unless I jump off stage. However, it is very, very possible for them to have nothing to look at on the screen. So I've now created a holding slide, my opening slide that I would use as I'm kind of walking up to the room and the people are cheering and stuff like this. And then anytime that I want to just have the audience listen to me, I just put back up that holding slide. They glance at it for a second and they realize, that's a place marker. And then they know there's nothing to see here and they focus on me.
Can we focus on me for a second, please?
This allows me to stage manage my audience in the best possible way. So what I want you to do is to look at any one of your presentations and create a generic opening. It could be the title of the presentation. It could just be your name. It could be a company logo. It could just exist there as it is. It could be the event logo if you're speaking an event. And if you're speaking at an event for somebody else, ask for their holding slide. They'll have one. They'll send that to you and then you can use that. Any given time that goes up on the screen, the audience will start listening to you. So you put up a big concept for them to see, they look at it, they take a photo of it, and then boom, it changes back to the holding slide. And then they stop and they turn to you and they give you their 100% focus. It's a great tool, it's easy to use, and you can use it right now, so do. Number 2 is a frame of mind change. You see, I used to think as a speaker that my job was to try and hold my audience's attention, to keep them on the hook. But when I was presenting online, I realized that's just not possible. When you're presenting online, there's just too much distraction out there. People can change tabs in a second, be listening to you like a podcast, and be checking their email or jumping onto social media. The problem is, as human beings, we're only capable of one active process at a time. So if we're concentrating on something else, the background just sounds like Charlie Brown's school teacher.
Yes, ma'am.
And so I needed to change that. So what did we do? We changed our mindset from holding their attention to interrupting their distraction. So I constantly want to, do things to win back my audience as much as humanly possible. Kind of like the clips that editor Drew is dropping in here and making magical.
Oh, God.
Now, when I go back to presenting in person, I realized that this was no different. There was no reason why I wouldn't have to interrupt their distraction. Because what I realized is people are still distracted. It's just harder to spot in person. You think just because a person's sitting there staring at you, you've won them. But often they're not. They're in submarine mode. They're looking at you, but it's glazed over and they're just kind of thinking about something else. Now, that doesn't have to be because you're a bad speaker. That could be because you said something earlier that linked to something they were thinking about, and then they just went down this rabbit hole of thinking about that thing until, boom, you interrupted their distraction and brought them back. Now, how do I do that? Well, you do that, 1, with pace, pitch, and pauses, right? You got to manage the pace at which you deliver your presentation. Sometimes going louder, sometimes going faster, sometimes going slower. When you make a change like that, your audience comes back. The next thing you can do to interrupt their distraction is actually having more slide changes. I used to work on a slide a minute before the pandemic. Now I'm working on 2 slides per minute. Because those changes on the screen, even if it's just one word, even if it's just changing the color of the background, that scene change causes the audience to look, to shift, and to come back into the room. I've interrupted their distraction. And again, I can go back to that holding slide and keep them from there. And the other thing that I've been doing is using a lot more interaction. Interaction has been the biggest part. It was definitely the biggest game changer that I could do online, but it's certainly been so much fun to bring it back in. Now, if you were presenting online during the pandemic, certainly you were using tools like polls and setting up a Zoom poll, getting people to do things, having people reach out into the chat. All of a sudden, using tools like Mentimeter, I'm still able to do that in person. Now, I was able to do it before the pandemic. Those tools existed. The problem is audiences didn't want to engage with them. But now we've trained the audience to do this during a presentation, and they're a lot more likely to engage, and you can have a lot more fun with them. So definitely check those out. Now, this one leads me to number 3. And that is that you have to enjoy yourself more than your audience. There's nothing harder about presenting online than seeing a whole Zoom room full of people with their cameras turned off, or presenting one of those webinar platforms where it's literally just you and your content. And you have to speak at this little black hole at the end of your camera as if it's the coolest person in the world. It's just me and this little black robot, and we're having the best relationship ever. Whee! Now, the only way to get around that and to keep this excitement going is to have content and to enjoy yourself and enjoy your content more than you expect your audience to. You have to learn to fall in love with your content. Now, I've taken that from presenting online, and I've just tried to bring it into every presentation that I deliver now. I was presenting in Texas last week and also in Tampa, and I just had the best fun with the crowd ever. It was such a great rapport, and really all I was doing was delivering information that I enjoy delivering. And when I'm enjoying delivering it, they have a chance. You see, if you're presenting online, it's really just you. And half the time, my hack was I would just put my video behind my camera so I could see and entertain myself. Now, I can't necessarily do that on stage, but now I have an audience giving me that same feedback loop. But the result is the same. I need to make sure that I'm having the best time and I'm entertaining myself. That is your objective. Entertain yourself. As Julian Shapiro says, blow your own mind. Right? If you're writing content or a presentation and you can't see how you could deliver this in a way that you would enjoy, you're going to fail. You're setting yourself up for failure. What you need to do is to deliver something that if it was just you and a camera in a room, you and the camera are having the best time ever. So those are the 3 things. Tip number 1, think in scenes and not slides. Tip number 2, interrupt their distraction. And tip number 3, remember, your audience can never enjoy receiving a presentation more than you enjoy delivering it. So knock yourself out and lead loud.